It's time for your number one NAIA men's basketball podcast to begin as the Road to Muni podcast with Junior and Coach Lovers begins now.
Hello, NAIA Hoops Nation, and welcome to the NAIA men's basketball tournament preview show. This is I'm Junior. You can see on the screen, and with my co-host Coach Kevin Lubbers. Coach, normally the Road to Muni podcast, but now we got our preview show, and we always joke that the Road to Muni is kind of leading up all season long, but now we have the official Road to Muni as we have the opening round host sites with teams just 2 wins away from Kansas City.
Yeah, no, it's we're coming down to the wire here, and we're in for some great action. The brackets were really exciting to take a look at and see some of the really cool matchups, not just in the first round, but potential second round stuff. I know we're going to get into all that today, but yeah, it's a pretty fun moment for teams when that bracket comes out, and now they know what they're dealing with. And I promise you, last night, into the wee hours and early this morning, there's been a lot of scrambling to get organized and get ready and make sure your scouting is getting up to where it needs to be and go from there. So.
Well, we'll have a couple coaches on too to ask them those questions, but as a guy that's been through it, is that kind of what the first 24 hours is like after you kind of find your seating? Are you finalizing your travel plans if you are traveling, and then getting in the scout? You letting your assistant scout? What are you doing here?
Yeah, no, it depends. I mean, if you got a good, if you have a full staff, obviously you probably got somebody working on travel stuff that's dedicated to that. I know as a head coach, I wanted to get into the weeds of who we were going to see and get a game plan put together. I mean, you can project, within reason. So I would imagine some coaches have been trying to do some guessing as well ahead of time, thinking who they might match up against and doing some pre-scouting. But yeah, once you get that, players are excited, just ready for practice. They're ready for the game plan to roll out, and coaches are not sleeping very much the 2 or 3 nights after those brackets come out, getting ready to go. So, but what an exciting problem to have, right? I mean, you're playing in the national tournament, and it's a great problem to have. And depending on the size of your school and resources and support, you either got people doing all the details for and with you, or you're doing that on your own also. And either way, you got to get it done.
Yeah, and speaking of which, a lot of projections over the last basically month for us. It's been no semester, and happy to report we went 64 of 64 teams in the field. After missing one last year, I was feeling pretty good, Coach, about it. And then my old friend Bert Capel out of Evangel texted me late last night, and he asked how I did. I told him I went 64 of 64, and he reminded me that last year I left Evangel out as they went to made it all the way to the round of 16 last year in the NAIA. So. I know Coach Cable will be watching this show too. But Coach, thanks for bringing me or humbling me after feeling pretty good about myself and reminding me last year that I left Evangel out and their magical run. And I think that's the fun part about this year too, or about the tournament is last year we saw a 15 seed in Evangel and a 14 seed in Central Baptist. Win 2 games in the opening round and head off to Kansas City. And you just kind of never know, this time of year, especially when you have teams playing, non-league games. Some teams are playing their first non-conference opponent since basically maybe the early November. It's just kind of a fun time of year because, not everybody is entering the tournament in their best form. But some teams, all it does is take no matter what happened in their conference tournament, if they can find one win, maybe they can make a run. I was reminded that today of Ottawa, Arizona from 2 years ago. They were a 7 seed, went all the way to the Fab Four, and hit some buzzer beaters along the way in the tournament. One was literally they had to go the full length of the court and ran not quite the America's play, but definitely threw it up the court, and then to about half court, threw it to the 3-point line, and they got the big win in the opening round, actually over Baker, and then propelled that all the way to the Fab Four. So there's gonna be a lot of close games and a lot of really good matchups, and sometimes it maybe one shot could determine whether you lose or make a big run to the Fab Four.
No, there really is. And Uncle Mo, momentum really does matter too. So sometimes these teams coming off hot streaks in the conference tournament are playing really well, roll that right into this weekend and keep going. There's always surprises. I can promise you that opening weekend will not be chalk on the seed lines. There will be surprises. There's a couple I have my eye on that if I was guessing, I'd say are going to be a problem for some of the higher seeds. And they probably weren't too thrilled when they saw the draw, and I know we'll get into some of that as we go bracket by bracket. But yeah, it's interesting in the way we do the tournament, right? It's not quite as true of seeding as you see, and like we talked about last week, I think on the show, right, in the D1 model. So sometimes these seed lines can be a little bit deceiving in terms of where teams are actually at. It's getting closer, but there's still some really good teams that might have lower numbers next to their name.
Yeah,
One of the things that we always try to do with our preview show is bring on a committee member to help just dissect the bracket a little bit and discuss kind of the process. And joining us today is Oakland City head coach Ken French, who is part of the committee. And Coach, I appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit NAIA Hoops with us today.
I appreciate it. Been a long time NAIA guy, and there's nothing better than this time of the year.
Yeah, I agree. It's always a lot of fun, and one of the stats from the NAI, the 64 team field has a record of 1,410 wins to 477 losses. So a lot of great teams in the field this year, and with almost 75% win percentage, I think we're going to see a lot of great games.
I do too. It's a very deep field. It's probably the deepest field that we've had in a while, and it was competitive at the top with some of the top seeds and everything. But to be quite honest, right there in the middle was tough. And then even when you get down to the 3 and 4 seeds, you were splitting hairs on who's a 3, who's a 4, and we started looking at the 3 seed list, and there's a lot of good teams. There are a lot of good teams.
Yeah, I do a bracketology every year from semester on, and it was tough this year for sure. Once you kind of know the host sites, it gets a little bit easier to kind of seed. You maybe want to dive into what goes into. I know the committee doesn't fully have say on the host sites, but you want to know or maybe update the audience on what goes into getting the host site. And this year was a unique year where you guys released 12 early, and then those final 4 came down to what seemingly was the last couple weeks of the season.
It's a long process, and the selection committee, we have input with that, but we don't make the final decisions. That's an NAIA decision. And a lot of factors are, who bid, who makes a bid. The other is, where you're at, how high of a ranked team are you? And the other one is location, and it has to do with travel for how the bracket's put together, what works best with the teams that make the 64 team field. And I think it was unique this year, like you're talking about, because they held on to 4 locations, and they were kind of making sure that they fit with whatever 64 teams are in the bracket. And it just happened that the way it worked out, the Crossroads ended up with 4 host sites, and it worked out geographically more than anything, with location and airports and all that kind of thing. They always try to keep it to 9 teams or less that have to fly. It's kind of a benchmark, and the way the bracket's put together, it's just not thrown together. It's not a perfect bracket. If you did a perfect seed bracket, you would have teams in the same league maybe play each other and that kind of stuff. So there is a little bit of tweaking that has to go on, not only from a geographical standpoint, but from a seed level, to no one's seed changes, but sometimes they get moved in a bracket based on geography and travel.
Well, and that's one of the questions we probably get a lot, and maybe you can elaborate on is, not just league teams. We know that you guys try to avoid league teams, but is it more important to keep teams within travel, guidelines, or do you guys also try to keep teams away from playing each other, and maybe in the first round that had played each other earlier in the season as a non-conference game? I know some of that goes into it as well, right?
There's a little bit of that. I think it depends on the time of the year that you play. We do have a couple of matchups on that they played during the regular season. It just couldn't be avoided because we didn't want to change anybody's seed line, if that makes sense. So it's just the way that it worked out. The other part of that is there is some geography to it. We look at can a team fly? Do they have an airport close to them? It's not only do they have an airport close to them, but wherever the location of the pod that they're in, is there an airport, a regional airport big enough for them to fly into near that pod that they're going to? And the other part of it is a perfect pod is a 130 seed line. And what we mean by that is you take every seed number of the teams playing in that pod and add them up, and we want that to be 130. And we try to keep it plus or minus 4 or 5 of that the best that we can.
Yeah, because you guys do like an overall or a perfect seed perfect seed list, and then that's where you get your 130 from, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, you mentioned it earlier, and just you said how tough it was for the top seeds. And part of that's just because we have a lot of good teams this year.
Yep.
What goes into the 1 seeds, and who gets those top 1 seeds? And I think this year we were even on our bracketology report, we had about 7 or 8 teams, as long as I can ever remember in past years, that kind of hung around that had an opportunity to get a 1 seed. So what goes into being able to lock up a 1 seed? And the 4 teams that won it this year, were very deserving, obviously. I just was curious on, what goes into that decision.
Obviously you got to be a good team. You have to win, and that's first and foremost. And all the teams that were in consideration, while the top 25 is not a factor, it's not a criteria or anything like that. You're talking about teams that were in the top 5 to 7 the entire year almost. You look at College of Idaho and Arizona Christian and who were the others? Freed Hardman and LSU Alexandria. All those teams are deserving, and then you have teams like Grace. Grace wins the Crossroads regular season and conference tournament. You have Georgetown, who ended up, they didn't win the Mid-South and they didn't win the conference tournament. So those are all the factors that go into that, and there's not one that weighs more heavily than any other, just like RPI and strength of schedule and all that kind of stuff. But I do think it was important that you either win your regular season or win the regular season in a conference tournament. So winning was a factor in, those 4 number 1 seeds.
Yeah, and all the way down the seed list, I'm sure this is true, but what does the final part of the season, home stretch, how much is that taken in? And I know that you guys try to work off the full body of work, but late in the season, it seemed like, especially on some of the bubble teams that got in, were teams that were hot late in the year or had big wins late in the year.
Absolutely. That was a factor. I think it was brought up several times. We would talk about how a team did in their last 10, last 12, last 15 games. I mean, we had a couple of teams that were 12-3 in their last 15 games. That carried a lot of weight. Carried a lot of weight in just the bubble teams, and it carried a lot of weight in the final seeding process too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That you want to be playing your best basketball at this time of year, and it seemed like a lot of the teams that not just the bubble teams, but even seed lines were teams that did that. And with that, kind of, you mentioned conference championships. Not everybody can get a 1 seed, obviously, but it seemed like the teams that won conference championships kind of moved up seed lines from maybe where they were maybe a week or 2 ago as well.
Sure. I think the end of the year this year played a factor in a lot of movement. People jumping each other teams in different positions and that kind of thing. And I think it just carried weight. It's because it was so competitive. We kind of used that as, okay, this team won their tournament. This team won both or whatever. And I think that meant a little bit more this year than it ever has.
Yeah, certainly a lot of great competition throughout the last part of the year. I'm hoping, and I'm sure it will continue into the opening rounds here. Just one final thing, and maybe you want to talk a little bit more, on what goes into some of that bubble, quote unquote bubble selection, and You don't have to compare teams or anything, but just kind of what overall goes on that you guys look for. I know we kind of talked about late season runs, championships, stuff like that. Is there anything else that goes into that?
It's everything. The main criteria, winning percentage, strength of schedule, RPI, all those things play a factor, and then you kind of go to the secondary criteria, whether it's head-to-head matchups or, the just overall body of work, and then how they did in the last 10 games. It all carried weight. We spent a lot of time. We were in that room from 9 in the morning till almost 9 at night, the first day, and it was a long day. And, they pull up on the screen and we do comparisons of teams, and we even had 4 teams up on the screen, 5 teams up on the screen. And you're looking at the primary and secondary criteria and really dissecting it. And there's still a human element to it, for sure, especially when it came to the seeding. Because it's still relatively new. We have a small sample size of using RPI and strength of schedule, and I think there's still a human eye test element to it, knowing that a team is good. And I will specifically talk about one team because they're from our league. If you look at St. Mary's of the Woods, their analytics they're not good at all. They're not impressive, and their RPI and strength of schedule, don't even compare to some of the teams, but they're an automatic qualifier because they won our league, they won the regular season or won the conference tournament, and then you just have to see them to know this is a good basketball team, and that's one of the reasons that they ended up with a 3 seed was basically because everybody in the room knew they were a good basketball team. The numbers may not show that, but it's not just the analytics. You can't go by just the numbers. If that was the case, we just go straight down RPI and top 64 teams again.
Yeah, nope, I agree. That's a good analogy there, and I think it's cool. The field is always, and some of it was automatic qualifiers, but like a team like Johnson, we got a chance to talk to Coach Sharp as well on this episode. But an at-large team, I believe it was the first AAC at-large team since the merger, at least. But also like just the fresh blood. We have a lot of new teams or teams that just haven't been in the field for 10 plus years. I believe there's 7 or 8 total teams that either haven't been in or haven't been in for over a decade. So I think it's cool to see some of the new blood coming in the tournament as well.
I think it's important, and the AAC is not in my arc. I have the Great Lakes South arc, but I spoke about them midway through the year and talked about the Appalachian League. This was the best the Appalachian League's been maybe ever. And, I know Union is the primary, AAC representative, and they're down a little bit. Well, the year that they're down, they've got 5 or 6 really good teams in their league. This is the best that league's been in a long time. And we get to see those teams like our event, the show in Kingsport,
Yep.
Tennessee. We get to see teams from all over the country, and they got to showcase their league that weekend. And I think it helped them throughout the course of the year. And I think that's a good sign with the committee is, it's not based on history. It's not based on this league's always good. They get rewarded. They get 5, 6 teams in. The Appalachian teams never got an at-large team, and they did this year. Why? Because they deserved it. The numbers were there. The analytics was there. And they won. Everybody keeps asking, what do we do? What do we do? How can we get – the bottom line is you got to win games. Go win games.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I appreciate all the insights. It's great for not just me to learn because I enjoy learning, but also great for the audience to see, what all goes into, 1 seeds, the seeding lines and bubble teams and everything like that. I appreciate you joining us today and educating us all.
I appreciate it. And I will say this, everybody on the selection committee was great. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's first class, very professional, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work in, 2.5 days.
Yeah, no doubt. We appreciate all the work you guys do. It's I don't think people understand how grueling that truly is. I know that it's basically 3 days of a lot of conversations, and rightfully so. You have some people passionate about trying to help get their teams that they think deserve in, and that's what it's about. Finding maybe not the best 64 teams because of automatic qualifiers and stuff, but finding the right 64 teams I think is very important, and I think you guys did a great job once again this year.
Oh, without question. And you talk about how passionate people are and how seriously they take their position, whether they're, a voter, an ARC chair, or in the oversight position. Coach Reuter from Arizona Christian, he played in a championship game in his Western Pacific time zone, and then flew to Kansas City and is in our meeting the next morning.
Yeah.
And didn't get any sleep or anything like that, but there he is, and he's doing his job and representing his art extremely well.
Made it a little bit easier that they won on a last second shot buzzer beater for the championship too, but
Wild game.
wild game for sure. Well, Coach, this is Coach Ken French again. Appreciate you coming on and joining us, and we will see you again hopefully soon.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, well, let's jump right in to it as we jump into this bracket. It's it's a fun one, I think, all the way up and down the board. For those that are new to the NAIA tournament, we have this is a situation where we have four quadrants. Going to have the Naismith quadrant. I'm going to have the Cramer, the Duer, and the Liston. All great matchups, I think, Coach. You have anything that strikes you right out of the gates before we dive in?
You stick in a certain bracket, or are we going anywhere?
Anywhere you want here, just opening round.
Anywhere you want. I think one opening round game that I think I really got my eyes on is the Ave Maria Xavier matchup. Xavier's sitting at a 14, Ave at a 3 down there, and I just think Xavier's defense and their length and athleticism versus just the offensive firepower of Ave is a really intriguing matchup to me. And I could see Ave lighting it up, and I could also see Xavier really giving them problems defensively, and that being a little bit of an upset alert. I mean, Coach Copeland doesn't want to hear me say that, but it's one of those ones where you look at it, it's just a very interesting contrast of personnel and styles, and that's one that really jumped out to me as I looked kind of across the board there. It might not be one people are looking at much.
Yeah, no, I like that one too, and some of the stuff that stuck out, and you kind of talked about a little bit of contrast in styles. I'm really looking forward to a lot of these matchups just because I think about and obviously 8-9 matchups are usually the ones that are going to be the most highly contested because of the teams are similar. But Oregon Tech, Indiana Tech out in the desert, and Arizona Christian. One of my favorite matchups in the entire slate. Just two teams that have a history of winning, and I just think that those are two evenly matched teams that I thought, as I walk through the bracket, it may be one of my favorite opening round matchups. I have a couple favorite potential matchups down the road, but that's definitely one of my favorite opening ones. And we can jump right into the Naismith quadrant here. It's going to feature the number 1 overall seed in College of Idaho. You can kind of see all the teams here that are at College of Idaho. Got UC Merced, Friends, and Florida Memorial, who, the committee has not been shy sometimes with sending these, coastal teams, either far west, or I know we saw Masters go out to Florida a couple years ago. And, just looking through, so we got College of Idaho right here as one of the host sites. Got Langston University as a host site with St. Mary's Central Baptist and William Carey. We have Huntington University with Huntington Lords. Got Northwestern and then Graceland. And then the final one in this one is, I hope I left the seating up here in the wrong seating, but Georgetown, LSU Shreveport, Lewis Clark, and St. Francis. First, in this quadrant, Coach, do you have any of the potential matchups that you like the most here?
Yeah, no, I think another one. I don't mean to beat a drum on the 14 seeds here, the 3 seeds, but I do think that Huntington Lords game could be interesting, and both from a matchup perspective and also just one that might be closer than people might think. That's a matchup I like, and then also the Lewis Clark St. Francis. I mean, I would say that we're talking about polarizing styles with some other ones, but then you're getting a little bit closer to styles there. I think those 2 leagues kind of have a similar theme to them in terms of how they play, and so those are always really good matchups between those 2 leagues, I think. So those are 2 games that jump out to me.
Yeah, I like those. I'm gonna go down to over to Georgetown, and the whole pod. We're going to talk to Coach Austin Johnson from Lewis Clark here soon, but I just, it's a 15 versus 2 matchup here. Don't mind my seeding on that one page. I went through and I was going to put all the seeding up and decided to delete them last minute, and forgot one. But this is 2 teams with actually the 2 longest tournament appearance streaks going on. I know Shreveport. There's some, whether they should be in or not. I just think that anytime that they're close, they seem to find a way to get themselves in the tournament. I think their wins over Nelson and LSU Alexandria probably help propel them into the tournament. But a really fun matchup here between 2 really tradition-rich programs. Maybe a good omen for Georgetown in this one. These 2 teams have faced off twice in the national tournament before. The 2013 Fab Four and the 2019 Sweet 16 matchup both came down to final shots. And Coach, both years when Georgetown won and then went on to win a national championship. So, the last 2 times they played Shreveport in the national tournament, it was a good thing for Georgetown. So we'll see if that continues on that one. And then I do like that Lewis Clark St. Francis matchup too a little bit. That's two good teams from 2 good leagues. That I know St. Francis was kind of puttering down the stretch, and then you have a Lewis Clark State team who got healthy and features one of the best players in the country, in Alton Hamilton, just a sophomore, and was the Cascade Player of the Year this year. So I just like that entire pod there, and I think it's like some good matchups.
Yeah, there really is. No, there is throughout, but this one for sure has a lot of good matchups in that opening round.
Well, let's go ahead. We'll bring in a guy that is no stranger to winning NAIA tournament games, and bring on Austin Johnson from Lewis Clark State. Coach, how are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
we got you.
You are on the show with us, and we appreciate you joining us. I know it's a little bit earlier West Coast time for you, but appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, fortunately for you guys, my wife just had our 4th kid, so I've been up. I mean, there is no sleep in the Johnson house, so I'm ready to roll.
You want to talk about that a little bit, Coach? I know you. For those that don't know, you and I obviously go way back, so we text a lot on the side. But you were literally in the conference tournament, Cascade Conference tournament. Your wife got induced. You went and won a ball game, and then went and had a baby.
Yeah, she went in the afternoon, a couple hours before our game, our first round conference tournament game, and the plan was if she was going to go into labor, that someone was going to come let me know while I was coaching the game. I was going to leave. As much as I love our team, I love my wife and my children more, and so the plan was for me to leave if she went into labor, but didn't happen during the game. Fortunately, we won, and then I went to the hospital at 2 a.m. Our daughter was born. And then we played Friday, and then we played Monday, and now I'm about to leave her again and go to Kentucky. So it's been a lot of joy, not a lot of sleep. It's been a really cool and eventful week in the house and with our program.
Yeah, congrats, Coach. We were just talking too about coaches losing sleep just simply on the scouting and travel planning side of the fence. So you had the family ingredient, and you got a lot on your plate, man, and that's awesome. Congratulations, and
Thank you.
you got a pretty fun matchup coming your way too in the first round, as we're sizing.
Yeah. I haven't dove into them a ton. I know obviously Crossroads has great teams, and I watched a little bit last night, and just there's going to be some big time matchups, and they got 2 really big time sophomores, and I don't want to mispronounce the guard's name, but that guy's pretty impressive score. And then also, it also is, I mean, when she gets to the free throw line is incredible. And then Malone, I mean, yeah, Malone's pretty impressive too. So, but that's, I think, the beauty and the fun of the national tournament is just you get to play teams and styles you don't see every day. And then, in the Northwest, we're so, locked in by, you got the Pacific Ocean. There's not as many schools/players to a certain extent. And so you're getting to see, I mean, yeah, just how many more people and schools and players are in the Midwest and just the different styles, different athletes. I think that's like one of the coolest things about the national tournament is just, is getting a chance to go compete against someone else that does something different or that has different pieces and seeing how you stack up.
Well, I think that's you're talking about their personnel a little bit. Maybe one of my favorite player matchups in the entire first round. Two sophomores with with Isaiah Malone, who you mentioned, and then Alton Hamilton, your big fella. Those two going at it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think if anybody's out there watching and looking for somebody to watch or a matchup to watch, two of your best young bigs in the entire country are going head to head in that one.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Like I said, I haven't dove into them a ton yet, but it's going to be really cool to see how they match up against each other and how it's played. And there's, and then obviously too, we have another really good sophomore, McCarry Morris, and I need to look up his name real quick. I apologize. Hopefully they're not using this as a bulletin board. I don't. It's actually out of respect. I don't want to mispronounce it. Luke. Yeah. And so, he's a sophomore too. Macari Morris versus a sophomore. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting storylines of just, we have a couple seniors, they have a couple seniors, but a lot of the point production coming from underclassmen is pretty unique, I feel like, in this current basketball climate.
Yeah. Talk a little bit, Coach, about, for people out there watching, your game plan. You got a back-to-back scenario. Obviously, you got to keep your eye on the ball, first game first. But how are you also thinking about, the weekend on a whole, right? And from a preparation standpoint, how does that? And you could maybe reflect back to conference play and things like that.
Yeah,
well. I mean, how do you manage that back-to-back scenario?
The one, I hate to say positive because I don't like it, but our league plays back-to-back, so. Honestly, the overall process of playing back-to-backs is not going to be something that's new for us.
Right.
It's going to be normal for our guys. The prep will be a little bit different because obviously in league play, you're just more familiar with that team on the second night. And for me as a coach, I'll be honest, my only focus is St. Francis. I don't have the cojones to think that there's we tell our guys too all the time, like, tomorrow doesn't exist, all you guys today. And that's going to be our focus. And then we have two really good assistant coaches that'll, one's locked into St. Francis and the other is going to be working on, kind of both teams, Shreveport and Georgetown. And so, but really just locked in completely on the first one. And again, I do think the only time I could say that our league schedule and how our league does stuff is a positive, the only time I could ever say that is the fact, when you play these back-to-backs. Other than that, I can't stand it. But when you get to this, it's not, we don't have to have those discussions about, oh, okay, it's going to be back-to-back. You got to be tough. You got to be prepped. Like, our guys, they're used to it. And so we can focus way more just on the opponents and us instead of those kind of other factors.
Yeah, definitely a good advantage there. And like you said, you have the familiarity in conference play with those teams. So there's certainly, guys aren't stupid. They know, when you're working on stuff, it's like, hey, we know this team does that.
Yeah.
But the national tournament, obviously different scenario, but you guys are prepped and poised from that based on the back-to-backs throughout the year for sure, when and if that moment comes. But I just always think it's interesting for people to hear how coaches are thinking about that and how they structure that with their staff and their players. So.
Yeah, and obviously you have some staffs that are bigger where you've got, you're going to already have complete scouts done on those second night teams. Whereas, to be honest, like for us, we'll have a feel, but like that'll be way more like scrambling through the night and the next day if we were to win on Friday. And that's, scouting matters for sure. But at the end of the day, like we talk to our guys, like you got to play well, you got to take care of the basketball, you got to make shots, and like that sounds super basic, but we all know like a tournament play. Like it's that simple. I mean, it is. I mean, who's going to make shots? And it's a little bit different when you're not going right to municipal and playing in that arena. But we've had teams where guys have been great shooters all year long. They get to the national tournament and they decide to have the worst shooting night of their careers. Those are heartbreakers. But then we've also had guys, on the flip side, that step up and probably play more to their ceiling, of potential. And so I'm really curious and excited to see how our guys respond and just see how the game goes and see who plays well. And, single elimination tournament, like, I know to a certain extent you're judged a lot based off that, but man, like truly anything can happen. And my coaching career is a testament to that. I mean, you can get lucky at the right time and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I know from our talks last year, Coach, that you guys were kind of hoping that you were going to travel outside the region last year, and you end up getting put at Montana Tech. But this year, you do get to get outside your region. Are your guys? I know probably being a youngerish team, your young guys are probably no matter where they play, they just want to play. But are you as a coach and staff, and then as a team, excited to kind of get off the West Coast and go play some new teams, some fresh blood?
Yeah, it'll be cool. I think, there's pros. I mean, I don't say pros and cons, but there's pros and cons to both. For us, I think going so far, you've got a 3-hour time change. You're over 2,000 miles away. It's going to be a long travel day to get out there. Lord willing, that the flights all work out. But also be cool for our guys because it's going to be an experience. You know what I mean? Like, last year, Montana Tech, they were awesome hosts and it was a great experience. But also, we'd already played there earlier in the year, and it was about it was a bus drive that we could make. Whereas this, I think, is going to feel like more of an experience for our guys to where we're doing something different. It's not just a non-conference game. Like this is the national tournament. We're traveling so far away. And so I think I think our guys will be excited for it. And I mean, for us, we preach our team, like obviously we've been able to have some success over the years, but the reality is like, we never want to take these opportunities for granted. And I know there's probably some teams that should have got in or deserved to get in, maybe that didn't get in. And I'm aware of that. I've lived on the bubble a few different times in my career. And so I'll go wherever, whenever. Now, obviously, like matchups matter greatly, a great deal. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, like to have this opportunity is something that we like, obviously everyone wants to host. You want to get to position to host, but really like, as long as you got a chance, like go make something happen. And again, ultimately it's also just about the experience for your players. And, you want them to have a good experience. And I think being able to go across country, hopefully is going to be a cool thing and a bonding thing. And just an experience I won't forget, hopefully.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I appreciate you joining. I know you got some prep work and also some travel plans probably to help secure, but, and then hopefully he'll get home to help you out with the wife. But Coach, as always, appreciate you coming on and joining us for our preview show today.
Appreciate you guys, and thanks a ton for all you guys do. And this is the best national tournament in the country, even though I still wish we had 32 teams in KC, but that's just me. But it's still the best national tournament. And so appreciate all you guys do.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. Good luck. Congrats again.
Appreciate it.
Said moving over to the Cramer quadrant, got a lot of good matchups in this one as well. Your host sites over here are going to be Arizona Christian. They've got Westcliff, Indiana Tech, Oregon Tech coming to the ACU Event Center. You got University of Cumberland's, who's hosting Milligan, Mobile, and IU Northwest. Dalton State will be hosting St. Mary the Woods College, Ave Maria, and Xavier. And then you got Grace, who is going to be hosting Carolina University. You got U-Pike and St. Francis all heading in there to Winona Lake. Coach, there's a lot of intrigue all the way across all four of these, I think. And I will start you off with Arizona Christian. One I already mentioned it, the Indiana Tech Oregon Tech matchup. I think it's a lot of fun. This is an Indiana Tech team that won the WAC regular season. They are a team that battled a lot of injuries last year. and now they're fully healthy and had a really good season. Then you got an Oregon Tech team. They're coming off a upset loss. They got lost at home to a Multnomah group that was fighting for their not just their season, but their school's closing down. So, it was an opportunity for them they were a little bit more motivated, I think. And Oregon Tech was battling a lot of injuries. So I'm eager to see Oregon Tech coming off, what will eventually, by the time that they play next Friday, will be almost 2 full weeks off. But also a chance that, they had a lot of banged up injuries, see if they can get healthy. But all across the board here in this Cramer quadrant, a lot to like.
Yeah, no, there really is. I Arizona Christian's going to be really tough to beat in this tournament. I think that is definitely one of the teams that has a shot to make a run all the way through the title. Really, really good team, battle tested, haven't lost in a long time. I think that battle near the end there with Hope and the conference side of things, Hope and Masters and Arizona Christian going at it. I mean, they proved that they belonged. I mean, they put a stamp on it coming down the home stretch in that thing. So
When you talk about momentum, you talked about it earlier. This is a team that the conference championship game was played at the Masters, and they turned around and won on a last second shot. One of the craziest plays, missed free throw that'll get you every time, by Masters, and then just a tip out. Run play that I ended up working out perfectly in Arizona Christian's favor. They hit the 3 at the buzzer, and some of that, like I mentioned earlier with Ottawa last year in the tournament, even in the conference tournament, some of those big shots can lead to a bigger run here.
Yeah, no, they really can, and sometimes too, the ball's going to have to bounce your way, right? In this game, you get a little bit of luck happens along the way, and I think pretty much any team that's won it would probably say that at some point along the journey, they had a moment like that sparked something else or finished a game off, and so that and balance and health and injuries and all that kind of stuff. Those things are factors. We've talked about that before, so. Definitely could be a good spark for them going into this tournament.
Yeah, excited about a lot of these matchups too, and I think even some of these teams, a Milligan team who went through the AAC tournament and won that championship, they got some momentum heading over to a Cumberland's team who just lost to the team that Milligan beat in the championship game, Johnson, who we're gonna have their coach on later here in a little bit, Logan Sharp, but. Milligan, a good matchup for them, and I'm excited for that one. Even up and down the list here as we go, I'll tell you that Dalton quadrant, that one that really excites me as well. I think there's several teams out of there. I think St. Mary Woods has a chip on their shoulder. They're a team that out of the River States that back-to-back conference or back-to-back championships for them, back-to-back trips to the tournament for them, first time in program history. But playing with a little chip on their shoulder, I think they'll be a tough out as well.
Yeah, no, they will, and Dalton's an impressive group, and they've had a really good year as they move through. I already said the Ave Xavier one is a lot of intrigue to me. Just the contrasting styles, I think, more than anything else. And then you move down to the bottom of that too. Grace playing at home, and but definitely some teams in there too that could be disruptive. Pikeville, St. Francis, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of good action in this bracket.
Yeah. Okay. Well, give me your. We kind of talked about some of the games already. Give me your top bracket buster here out of this quadrant.
Yeah. This is a tough one. It may not quite be considered a bracket buster, but I think Dalton has a chance to go. But I guess the one I'm going to point out more than anybody is Cumberland's Kentucky. I don't know that they can get past, get to and through Arizona Christian. But I think if that matchup happened down the road with an Arizona Christian Cumberland's obviously has played a lot of really good basketball this year, and that could be one to me that could be pretty disruptive if they knocked off Arizona Christian down the road if those two met.
Yeah, a team that's played really good basketball. After we've brought it up on a couple times on the Road to Muni podcast, they hit a little bit of lull mid-season coming, or when they went into the NAIA the show, but coming out of it, they found themselves. They've regrouped. They went on to win the regular season championship for the Mid-South, and this is a really good team. I've heard that their big man got hurt in the Freed-Hardeman game and may be out. So I'm interested to kind of see if they.
Well, you didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me
I
that,
know. I set
Jared.
you
I
up.
mean,
I set
geez,
you up.
you set me up to fail here. Gosh, what are you doing here, man?
Yep, I
Wearing
set
me
you up to
out.
fail on that one, but we'll see. I don't, you never know on these ones on how. I haven't heard. There's no, quote unquote injury report out, so I don't know, but I know that he got pretty banged up, and I've heard that could be out for the rest of the year. But certainly for me, I think maybe another team, and we had talked to Coach Compton early in the year on the Road to Muni podcast too. This Pikeville team. Maybe
Yep.
playing with a little chip on their shoulder too. They had a really good year. Dropped all the way to a 7 seed. I know that for us, we always tell people it's a sliding scale, but as seed lines go, if you're a 7 seed, you could be a 5 or you could be a 10. You just don't ever know. But this is a team that played really good basketball. I think that they were deserving of a 4 or 5 seed as well. But while we may talk it up as a sliding scale, I think coaches can use that as a little bit of a as a motivator when you get a seed that maybe be lower than what you want. And I think this U-Pike team, they shoot the ball well enough. They're tough. And if they can get going there, I know winning at Grace is never easy, but if they can get by St. Francis and then go play Grace, U-Pike could be a team that can make a run a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I could see that happening also.
Moving on to our third quadrant, the Duer quadrant here. Coach, we got host sites here of Freed-Hardeman, Indiana Wesleyan, the Masters, and actually Kaiser hosting from a 7 seed. This one is a little bit interesting. I know that some of the host sites, they for the first time this year they held out 4 host sites. They only announced the first 12, and then basically teams are playing for that final 4 sites. And it came down to the conversations in the committee room, and Indiana Wesleyan ended up with one of the host bids, but which gave 4 host sites to the Crossroads League there. But as we've mentioned, there's great teams and great matchups all the way through again. And this one at Freed is going to be IU Southeast, and then you got Spring Arbor and Cornerstone. And then at Indiana Wesleyan, inside Luck Arena, we're going to have Indiana Wesleyan, Madonna, Life, and Johnson. And then playing at the Masters out in California will be Dakota Wesleyan. We got Montana Tech and Southern Oregon. And then, as I mentioned, Kaiser as a 7 seed is hosting the 2 seed William Woods, Dillard as a 15, and then the Kaiser will actually play Faulkner in what should be a great matchup there as well. Coach, in this quadrant, what sticks out to you the most here?
I think the biggest one to me is a Masters team. That's probably one of few teams they could say that has knocked off 2 number 1 seeds this year, right? So they beat College of Idaho early. They beat Arizona Christian. That is a dangerous team. The only thing that separated them from winning that conference tournament was a little bit of luck, like we talked about. And, not taking anything away from Arizona Christian, but kind of a fluke type deal. But the Masters is a very dangerous team, and I'm pretty bullish on their ability to move through this tournament. So.
Yeah, hosting is always a good thing, and I know that they just lost on their home court, as we mentioned, to Arizona Christian on a crazy last-second play there. But this is a team that was in Kansas City last year and features one of the heavy favorites for probably one of the 2 heavy favorites for National Player of the Year, and Caleb Lowry. Very, very good team, and I like them a lot. This is a bracket who I like some of these first-round matchups, but even some of the potential second-round matchups are very, very intriguing. There's some potential fireworks as well, but you got to get through these first-round matchups, and that's never easy either. So always interested in seeing these ones. I think one of my favorite ones, and we'll see, is kind of Madonna and Indiana Wesleyan. I know it's hard to win inside Lucky Arena, but Madonna was a team that went to Kansas City last year. They're a team that struggled really bad early in the year, and then they kind of found themselves second semester. They returned almost a majority, or almost everybody from last year's team that went to Kansas City. So, this is a team that has won a lot of games in the postseason in their career, and we'll see if they can maybe manufacture a couple here and return, make a return to Kansas City.
Yep. Yeah, and I think there's certainly a lot of ingredients that go into these host site selections, and it is what it is, right? And yeah, it's hard to beat Indiana Wesleyan on their home court, and although they've probably not had the year that they're used to, still a really good team and playing on their home court. So yeah, there's going to be some intriguing matchups there.
Yeah, and I think that I believe the stat line is 83-ish% of host teams who have advanced on. No more neutral sites, so everybody's a host bid this year, and so we'll see if that number continues. Roughly going to be about if we're on percentages, about 2 or 3 teams who don't advance on from hosting, but eager to see kind of these games that or some of these teams that are hosting and see what happens with them. I think that I'll start off with this one, Coach. I think my most intriguing opening round or first round matchup, and I hate to go to an 8-9 one again. I feel like I'm redundant here, but I really like the Cornerstone Spring Arbor matchup. I think that two teams that got hot late in the year, didn't win their conference, but both of them beat some of the top or beat the top 2 teams in their league, and I think that this is a team that or a matchup that features 2 teams that with coaches that have won a lot of games, won national titles, and just a great matchup, just player wise, coach wise, and just the flow. I think the flow of this game is going to be really, really good as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's several of them in here, and 2 teams that are coming in, and good opportunity for both as they look at it. And there's some pick'ems on this in this quadrant as I look at it. I think I wouldn't be shocked with some interesting results in this one.
Yep, and I know we're going to talk to Coach here, Logan Sharp here in a minute, but I really like this Life Johnson matchup too. Johnson was a team that. And this is kind of we've seen a trend a little bit this year. We saw Johnson was picked to win the league to start the year, the AAC, and they were, kind of up and down in the early parts of the year, but they got hot at the right time of year, and I'm really interested to see this team. And then you got the Life team who, Chase Harris is again one of the best players in the country, just a junior. Hopefully he's returning back, but he's a kid that certainly if Life makes a run here, he could really propel himself. And I think that's kind of, as we talk about the National Player of the Year, situation here, I think that, outside the, maybe 2 favorites in Caleb Lowry and Cash Nat, it may be a player whose team makes a big run in this tournament, and Life could be one of those teams that does that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they could make it out. I could see them getting to Kansas City. I think the teams like Freed and that type of thing are going to be hard to get through. But yeah, if they make a good run, then certainly a great player, right? And not taking anything away from him. So, yeah. But even just getting to his first round matchup is going to be tough.
Yes.
It's not, there's nothing easy about that draw there in terms of getting through a Johnson team, and so. And they're that is, some of these, it's not neutral site for the host, but there are neutral site games for these other teams, right? That are involved. So, there's not a home court advantage there for some of these teams, but.
Yeah. And I think that it's also one of those things where you can, winning a game, and this is a Johnson team, and we'll ask this question too, but making their first ever appearance in the NAIA national tournament. So, I'm eager to see kind of, these teams that, because we have quite a few of them making their first appearance, or even a Dickinson State team that I believe first time in 23 years that they're making it in. So you got some of these tradition-rich teams that we've talked about, but you also have some of these new blood teams that I think are a lot of fun to watch and pay attention to as well.
Yeah, they really are. And hey, everybody's 0-0 at this point, and upsets happen. You can ask, any level of basketball. It's there could be upsets when you get to this time of year, and all these teams earn their way in, and you can always make bubble arguments. But at the end of the day, teams that are here, and there's no easy games.
Yep. Well, let's go ahead and bring Coach Sharp on. Joining us from the Duer quadrant here is Johnson University head coach Logan Sharp. Coach, I think we can start for first off, welcome to the show, and second off, congratulations on you guys making the tournament. I know last night you guys were one of the at-large teams that maybe were on the bubble and were sitting there waiting on your fate, and you guys now wake up today and you guys are in.
Yeah, obviously, thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity to come on and talk a little bit about Johnson. But yeah, last night was a little stressful. I felt pretty confident in kind of which side we'd fall on the bubble, but definitely a little intense sitting around waiting that extra hour, but well worth the wait.
Yeah, I think that was maybe the toughest part. Everybody, a lot of people had watch parties going on and stuff like that, but then they delayed an hour, the show an hour, just to get the kinks out from the women's selection show. And I'm sure programs like you who were waiting to know their fate were probably a little extra nervous there, waiting for that hour you had to sit there and wait for. But what it resulted in is your guys' program's first ever trip to the NAIA National Tournament. You got to mean a lot for the school and the program and all of you coaches and players as well.
Yeah, no doubt. That was our goal going into the year, was finding a way to make the national tournament, and it was a little bit of a rocky road, but found a way at the end of the day to make it, and super exciting for the athletic department, basketball program. Our women's team also made it this year for the first time, so with it being NAIA for 4 or 5 years now. Our second year there as a staff, definitely exciting and a goal that we were able to achieve, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens Friday.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been pretty consistent here with the committee was kind of the teams that seem to get in with those at-large bids were really good late in the year. I think that's something that you guys, as you struggled a little bit through December and January a little bit, you guys really closed really, really hard. You want to talk about maybe what was behind that resurgence? And I know you guys had a lot of expectations coming in the season. I believe you were maybe picked first to win the league, and then all of a sudden you guys, hit that little bump in the road, but found yourselves a little bit, especially in February. I believe you guys have only lost one regular season game since February 1st, and then obviously you made it to the AAC title game where you lost to a Milligan team just by 3 points.
Yeah, the big part of it was just getting healthy. All throughout the year, it's no excuse, but we've kind of been, hit and miss. Who's in, who's out of lineups. One of our better players, Isaiah Poor, missed a full month in that December and January stretch where. We had a challenging non-con schedule. We played Freed, we played Kaiser, Southeastern, University of the Cumberlands, and I think it was just the perfect timing and right down the stretch, getting healthy and everybody being available, and we were able to put together a good stretch of 13, 14 games, and it all just kind of came together at the right time. And conference tournament. We've had 2 good games against Bryan and Pikeville. Wish we played a little bit better against Milligan, but credit to them. They were also another team in our league that kind of got hot at the right time, and great size, might be the biggest team in the country. Happy that we were able to get an at-large bid. I think it was the first time an AAC men's team's ever received an at-large bid. So super exciting and proud of our guys, and looking forward to being able to display what we can do on Friday.
As a new team, right? New team to the tournament. People might not know your school much. Tell us a little bit about your school. What makes it tick? What's special about it? What you love about it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, we talking our athletic department, we think we're a sleeping giant, to be honest, in all sports. We're located in Knoxville, Tennessee, which it's easy to pitch to recruits. You get to come get a small college education, but then you're 5-10 minutes away from University of Tennessee and the SEC atmosphere, and really great facilities, great admin around us, and all of our sports are taking a big step forward. Baseball team hired Dave Serrano, the former UT head coach, and his first year, they went from 5 wins the year before he got there to 25. Basketball, both programs taking a step forward. Softball as well. All the sports for matter of fact. So, we're a young NAIA program, but I think with, the leadership we have around us, facilities, the town, what our school offers, like I think going forward in all sports, it's going to be a program that's going to be able to compete nationally.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, I know that you're no stranger to the postseason here, as I know you had some good teams at Eastern As too. But as you look into the NAIA tournament here, what have you guys just tried to enjoy it since the announcement yesterday, or have you guys already started prep work for life? You worry about travel plans? What have you guys? What's the last? Obviously you slept in there probably a little bit too, but what's the last 12ish, 13, 14 hours here been like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we enjoyed it for 20, 30 minutes and then jumped right into it. I had me and my top assistant started watching live, and I've put my assistants on the other 2 teams in the pod. So, watched a few hours of film last night and this morning and tried to deal with some travel arrangements, but jumped right into it. And obviously have a great team ahead of us in life that's super talented, and it's going to be a tough task for us on Friday.
Well, and I know that you guys really don't play a ton of guys. I believe just 9. But you guys are, as you said, you got healthy. Obviously, helped out a lot too. But as you're looking through some of your roster and things like that, and I know you've probably already looked at Chase Harris, who's been playing really good basketball for life. You don't have to give the full game plan yet. I'm sure you don't have one intact, but what makes you guys go as a program and not just player wise, but even maybe strategy wise, but also how does that help you in maybe a matchup with a really good guard like Chaz Harris?
Yeah, he's a great player. They have a handful of great players. The 2 Johnson guys are obviously not us, the Johnson life guys.
Yeah.
Great players as well. Really well coached. Love to get out and play in transition. Shoots, I think, around 35, 36% from 3. So they pose a lot of challenges. We just have to go out and be our best version of us and to give ourselves the best chance to win. Mason Lockhart is a post player for us that, you'll see it Friday. Everything runs through him. He had a great year this year. Was the NAIA Offensive Player of the Week nationally a few weeks ago. He scored, I think he had 40 on University of Cumberland's. So it kind of runs through him, and then we have really good pieces around him. Taurus Woods is a 2-time All-Conference, first-team All-Conference player, averaging around 20 points a game. He's our leading scorer. Isaiah Poor, he averaged around 25 in the conference tournament. He's been hurt all year, so him, and then the guys around him, great pieces as well. Great teammates: Ben Rice, Dallas Carball, Tyler Moore. We hang our hat. We try to hang our hat on the defensive end, and then obviously making sure offensively we're executing and the big fella gets the ball as much as possible.
Well, Coach, I know that sounds like you already got some good prep work in, but I know that here over the next week, you guys will be fully at it as you get ready for your matchup with Life. We're wishing you guys the best of luck. It's always we mentioned on the intro show, a part of the show, that always good to have good or new blood in the NAIA tournament, and hoping that we can maybe see you guys in Kansas City.
Yeah, appreciate it. And again, thanks for all you do for NAIA basketball.
Yep. Thanks, Coach.
Good luck,
we'll see you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Appreciate Coach Sharp coming on. It's fun seeing young guys have success in their career, and certainly a team that I think that, as he said, they're getting healthy at the right time of year and playing good basketball. And teams like that can surprise some teams sometimes, too, if you're not that I think Life will be looking ahead at all or anything like that, but a team like Johnson's good enough to beat you, and if you got to be prepared for them. So very excited to see what they can do in the tournament. But Coach, talking about the Duer quadrant a little bit more here, what's your favorite opening round matchup here?
If I had to pick one, which I think is what you're asking me to do there, big shooter, I'm curious to watch the Cornerstone Spring Arbor game. A lot of intrigue there. I like that Cornerstone team, but Spring Arbor's shown flashes as well throughout the year, being pretty good. So, and coach that's been there before at Spring Arbor, right? And a coach that's been there before at Cornerstone. So I think on the coaching side of it, I'm most intrigued by that matchup. So
Yeah, I think we talked about that one, and the obviously IWU Madonna will be a good one. I think even a matchup like Southern Oregon and Montana Tech. Montana Tech
yeah,
finally got healthy. They're a team that struggled there a little bit as they were battling a couple injuries, and they got Coke back, and big time shooter for them. I think he opens up a lot of stuff for them. And I think that you saw that in the Frontier Conference tournament. Excited to see them and a team like Southern Oregon, who we talked about it on the podcast, Coach, early in the year. When you get some players a semester, it can change the landscape of your team. And they're a team that struggled first semester. They had some additions at the break, and played really good basketball all second semester. And they were another bubble team that you just didn't know if they would get in or not. They saw their names flash on the screen last night in the selection show, and sometimes that's enough for a team just to be rejuvenated as well and make a run. And I think that open round matchup there is a lot of fun as well.
yeah, yeah, no, and I think you're talking about good teams all throughout this bracket, and like we said, there's a lot of potential for some really intriguing matchups down the road.
Yeah, and I think the team like them or even Johnson could be bracket busters. I'll go with Southern Oregon. I think they're just a team that, like I said, I think they have some talent. I think they play hard, and if their shots are falling, they're a team that could be a little bit of a bracket buster. I like that Montana Tech team a lot, so it'll be an interesting
Yeah,
matchup. But I think that'll be my bracket buster for the Duer quadrant.
Montana Tech, that's who you're going with?
I'm going with Southern
So,
Oregon, but
Southern Oregon.
I
Okay.
just
Well, I'm
wanted
gonna.
to make sure I brought
Yeah.
up the fact that I love Montana Tech, but
Okay.
Southern Oregon with
Well,
their talents pretty good.
all right. Well, as much as I like the Masters, and I think they could make a run here, I actually think Montana Tech could make their way quite a ways through this as they go if they stay healthy. They've had some big wins this year. They also have beaten, somebody sitting on the one line, and they were right there with Masters already once this year. So I think Montana Tech is a team that could be disruptive and make their way quite a ways in this tournament. And I also like Masters, so if you can't tell, I'm looking forward to that matchup if it happens.
So one, always like when we go head to head. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But
come get it, Junior. Let's go.
but also, I'm guessing since you like those two teams, you're gonna put that as your toughest quad in the Duer quadrant.
Yeah, I absolutely think it is. Yeah, and that's definitely from my perspective a glaringly obvious that's the toughest one for me. But you may disagree.
I like that one a lot. I'm going to go with the Indiana Wesleyan one. I know Lucky Arena is Lucky Arena, but you got a Madonna team who made it to the round of 16 last year. You got a Life team who has a National Player of the Year candidate. You have a Johnson team who has a little bit of chip on their shoulder. They're young, and they're not young, but they're a team that plays good basketball, and I think maybe won't be overlooked, but certainly a team that can make some damage. But then you got an Indiana Wesleyan team who got hot late, and they're so good at home. I just really like that quad, and I'll put that one as the toughest one. So definitely
Uh,
interested in this entire quadrant as always, but I'll have my eyes in that Indiana Wesleyan bracket as well here. Rounding it up here, Coach, with the Liston quadrant. You got the host schools here at LSU Alexandria. You got Bethel, Indiana, Baker out of Kansas, and then here in the Liston quadrant, LSU Alexandria. They're going to host Stillman. They've got Nelson coming in, and then Middle Georgia. I think that you're going to hear me say this in this next quad here too, Coach. But I believe Stillman didn't get the memo that only teams with purple were invited to the LSU Alexandria quad. Um,
oh,
but I do like the Stillman team. They won the HBUAC regular season championship, and I think they're a team that got a little bit of lower seed, but certainly a team that can cause some headaches. Cash Nat is, in my opinion, the best player in the country. up for National Player of the Year. I'm very excited to see what he does this year in the national tournament. And then, a very tough matchup here with Nelson and Middle Georgia that we'll talk about a little bit too, but very good matchup there. In the Bethel, Indiana one, we got Bethel, Peru State, Morningside, and Hope International. Again, Morningside forgot that or didn't get the memo that only blue teams you have to wear blue here in Bethel, as there's 3 of the 4 teams are going to be in a shade of blue anyway. But Gates Gymnasium should be a lot of fun in this one as well. Baker, this is a quad that features Baker, Tennessee or Texas Wesleyan, and then you got CUNE and you've got Bethel out of Kansas coming in. This is a quad that I really like as well. Should be interesting to see some of these matchups. And then Dort, out of Iowa here, Dort will be hosting Dickinson State, and then you got the Oklahoma boys matching up in the other side here in Iowa, or over in DeWitt Gymnasium in Iowa for Oklahoma Wesleyan and Mac U. Coach, this is a one that I guess we can start wherever you want to here, but this is a bracket that doesn't just feature some good teams, but some really good players. And I'll start with LSU Alexandria. Like I said, I already mentioned Cash Net, but CJ Hall is a player from Nelson who was the SAC Player of the Year. Certainly, this is a really good LSU Alexandria bracket, one that I'm really looking forward to here.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a fan of LSUA all year. The coach has done an amazing job there, and that's a team to me that's separated from the pack in their league. As we kind of moved into the last third of the year, they really started separating and showed who they are. So that's a team that's going to be pretty hard to beat. When you got a player like they have running around on the court, it is a problem. He is a problem for the other side, and he's a really good player. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him move through this tournament.
Yep, and all the way through here, I think even the Bethel quad here, I know that a lot of people thought that the host sites maybe between that Huntington Bethel matchup and the Crossroads League tournament. Turns out, Coach, not just them two got the host, but also Indiana Wesleyan did as well. So I'm interested in this one. I think Morningside, who won the GPAC tournament, coming in, potential great matchup with in that second round if they both win with Morningside and Bethel. Don't sleep on this Hope International team. They're a team that you brought up when we talked about Arizona Christian and Masters. I know that they don't have the metrics, quote unquote metrics that some of the top teams do, but this is a team that was in the top 25 for a good part of the year, and a team that knocked off, I believe they beat both Masters and Arizona Christian during the year at home. But this is a team that I think may be a little bit underrated, and certainly can give maybe make a big run here.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And it's I like that matchup in general. It's one of my favorite matchups. That Morningside Hope International game is going to be a good one. And Peru State's not a team we've talked about much, right? But a team that Bethel will probably have to learn a little bit about. I'm sure it's one of those matchups where on the scouting report you probably don't know much about them, and they're going to have to learn here quickly about who they are and what they bring to the table. But I think it's you got a Bethel team playing at home in Mishawaka. I think probably like them to come out of that quad, but should be some good games.
Yeah. Moving on to Baker here, just real quick. This Baker team is one of the best defensive teams in the country. I don't think that wins this time of year. They're, I believe, top 10 in almost every defensive metric out there. They're coming from a title game, Hart title game, where they held Grayson scoreless for 9 minutes and I think 37 seconds, which is unheard of. I mean, that is just baffling. And some of that is obviously Grayson missing shots. I mean, you're not going to just lock down so good defensively for 10 minutes, but again, they're so good defensively that they make it very, very tough to score on. And I'm very interested to see this Baker team, who I think is still a team that, who's floated around the top 10 all year round. And, I think that teams, when they watch them in the Hart tournament, We haven't mentioned it a lot, but we'll see where there some of these host schools if they're on spring break or not. But Baker had
Yeah.
one of the best student sections in the entire entire conference tournament section, and we've seen it on. I know you don't have social media, but
I don't. You're right.
several people mentioned it on social media, and certainly if that student section is full, you're gotta like Baker coming out here a lot.
Yeah, no, and I guess you don't know, I guess, really, if they got spring break or what they got going on. But either way, actually, I think they're going to be out of spring break, Coach. I'm just looking at the academic calendar here. So Monday, March 10th starts their next run. So they should be out. Student section should be packed, and we had Coach on earlier in the year, and just great season for them, and
Yeah.
really fun to get a chance to host another one of these schools that I think when we talked at the time, a lot of people don't necessarily know until you do your research, but you better figure it out because they can guard, and they're going to be a tough out.
Yep, and a lot of good teams in here too. You got a Concordia team that played really good basketball down the stretch, and after rough start to the year, they're a team that we saw make a deep run last year in the NAIA tournament. And then you got Texas Wesleyan coach with Coach Wanamaker, who's a first year head coach, and he has Texas Wesleyan back in the tournament. They're a tradition rich team that won a national title, I believe, in 2017. But yeah, not too many years away from a national title run. And then Bethel squad with Coach Artez has done a really good job there. And this is a really, I think, fun quad here, or fun. The whole entire quadrant is really good, Liston quadrant, but this Baker pod is really fun, and I really look forward to watching this one as well. And then the Dort one here, Coach, you got Dickinson State team, like I mentioned, they're the first time in the tournament in nearly 23 years here. And then you got I really like this Oklahoma matchup between Oklahoma Wesleyan and Mac U. Two coaches who won a lot of games at the NAI level. Mac U's got a lot of tradition. They've won a couple of national championships as well. And then you got Jaden Latesky from Oku, who got healthy late in the year, and they really made a run before losing in the semifinals of the KCAC tournament. Just a fun little group here as well. And this Mac U team really defends, so I'm eager to see this group as well. Especially when you have two teams like Mac U and Oklahoma Wesleyan who are known to defend, and then you got a Dort team who's one of the highest powered offenses in the entire NEI, and one of the most efficient offenses in the NEI.
Yeah, that Dort team is really, really, really good. I've watched them play a few times this year, and the Pizza Ranch up in Sioux Center is going to be popping. Or Sioux Center, Sioux City, whichever one it is. I can't remember.
Yep.
Sioux Center, I got it right. You Iowa guys, but and another one of those schools. It's kind of like you go up to Pella, Iowa. You're like, what is this? Where are we? Right? Or no, I'm sorry, not Pella, Sioux Center, and but what a cool environment. And again, I hope the students are on campus there as well. It's just a fun little gym, and man alive, do they play some good basketball up there at Dort. And it's going to be fun to see what they do this year. I think that is a team that I really like in this tournament a lot. We've talked about them some. I think we've had Coach on at all, but that is a team that I like a lot, and I think could make a really deep run in this tournament.
Yeah, I love this Dort team. I think that they're, we talk about
You
defense.
you just like them because they're from Iowa. That's
that
the only
too,
reason you like them. But
that's too. Got to represent the Iowa guys. But no, this is a team that good tradition as well. This is a team that we talk about defense wins this time of year, but they are so tough offensively just to match up with. I think that if you haven't seen them or their pace of play or just the fact that they share the ball, it's very hard to emulate that in practice. And I think that I really think that when you see them for the first time, they're a team that, it may take a few minutes for some teams to adjust, because as much as you want to prepare for it, it's not the same as Dort's going to run it. And I really am eager to see some of these teams see some of these teams match up against Dort, just from the pure fact that their system and what they do offensively is so tough to copy and mimic that it can give some teams some really big issues, especially on a short scout.
Yeah, yeah, they're good. They're going to be tough out playing at home. High-powered offense, and questionably can their defense keep pace and lock in. But yeah, there could be an intriguing matchup in that second round of this quad as well.
Yeah. Well, Coach, let's go back and let's do a quick who are you going to do for your Fab Four here? Let's do a Fab Four prediction for everybody before we
Oh
send everybody
man,
home.
for the full bracket.
Yep, Fab
All
Four,
right.
Fab Four here.
Oh man, I got to do this without pissing people off.
Yep, I know it's always the toughest part.
All right. I'm gonna go with Georgetown, Arizona Christian. Oh, I'm gonna go. Uh, I'm gonna go with Masters and LSUA.
I like it. Okay, you went a little chalky. I know there's always, the last couple of
Oh,
years.
okay. Is that a shot?
No, no, no. I'm just saying I usually go. I'm usually the chalk one. So
All right.
looking back at the last couple of years, we had a 7 seed in the Fab Four a couple years back with Ottawa, and we've seen some higher seeds make some runs here. I really like Georgetown. I think they defend really well. So I'll go with you with that one. Um, as much as I like Arizona Christian, I'm actually going to take I'm going to take an Ave team that I think is just again offensively they're really good. Now in Kansas City, the ball it's tough to shoot there sometimes. So Ave in Kansas City, I'd be eager to see, but they're a team that just seems to really click. They're tough to guard because of their they're basically playing five out and shooting from all five positions, and I really like them. So I'll take the 3 seed out of there. Um, you went with Masters, so I'll mix it up there. I'm actually going to go, as much as I like William Woods too as a 2 seed, I'm going to go with the Kaiser from 7. I go back-to-back Sun teams. I don't know, maybe that's a bad omen.
You're going 2 Sun teams in the Final Four. All right,
I just jinxed the entire Sun conference
yeah.
there.
That's all right. I love my guys there, but
Yeah,
Copeland and Chief, get it done, baby. If you're
yep.
both in the Final Four, it'd be awesome.
As good as offense as Ave's been, Kaiser's been one of the good teams defensively. I just think that they're from a 7 seed, and even Montana Tech from a 6 are two teams that I think that are a little bit underseeded, and I really like them. So I think they can make deep runs. And then I'll take LSU Alexandria. I just think that they're going to find their form from early in the season when they knocked off Freed, the defending national champs, and Freed Hardeman. I just really like them a lot, and I think that they, with Cash, I think that they can make a deep run. And I think that they're a team that if they make it to Kansas City, they're built for Kansas City. They are physical. They can get to the rim, and they don't necessarily live up by the 3 ball, and you don't need to do that in Kansas City at all. So I'm really eager to see LSU Alexandria. Obviously, they got to win 2 games first, but if they can get to Kansas City, they're a team that I think is built for Kansas City. So I'll give it to them as well. I like a lot of teams, so it's very tough to go to 4. That's just my quick glance, Fab 4 run here, but going to be a fun tournament as always. I think that I'm biased as running NAIA Hoops report, but I think the NAIA is the best tournament in the entire country, and I'm really looking forward to this year's entire opening round, but also once we get to Kansas City, we're looking forward to Kansas City as well.
Yeah, no, and I'm gonna give a shout out. You'll hate this, but all the coaches say it, all the people say it about how much work Junior puts into putting all this stuff together, and you just do such an amazing job of capturing the full season, and then obviously putting it on display here in terms of preparation and readiness for this national tournament. So everybody in the NAIA thanks you, Junior, for what you do to put this together. I get a chance to watch a little bit more up close than some people do, but I know the coaches, the players, the families, the schools, everybody really appreciates who you are and what you bring to the table. So thanks for everything that you do for NAIA.
I like having fun, and this is really fun for me. And watching it grow over the last since we started 5-6 years ago has been really fun as well. The good part is this is not our last show. We're gonna be doing a Kansas City show again, a round of 16 show. Have some special stuff going there as well that we're looking forward to adding to the show this year. So until next time in the round of 16, this is Coach Lovers and Junior signing off.